Let's begin this Tuesday's edition of the SportsMax Zone with excellent news for the West Indies, who took an unassailable 2-0 lead in their three-match one-day international series against touring Bangladesh at Warner Park in Basseterre St Kitts. The Caribbean side won today's second ODI by 7 wickets, electing to field. Jayden Seals produced another brilliant spell, ending with 4 for 22 to lead Bangladesh's dismissal for 227 in 45.5 overs. Left-arm spinner Gudakesh Motie was also among the wickets with 2 for 36. Mahmudullah with a top score of 63 and 45 from number 9 batsman Tanzim Hassan Saqib, rescued Bangladesh from 115 for 7 after opener Tanzim Hassan produced an entertaining 33 ball 46 at the top. Now chasing 228 for victory, Brandon King led the way with a 76 ball 82, sharing a 109-run opening stand with Evan Lewis, who fell one short of a 12th half-century, while Casey Carty contributed 45 and the West Indies reached 230 for 3 in 36.5 overs to win with 79 balls to spare. Fazir Mohammed, as usual, followed the contest and joins us for a recap. Faz, not bad for a West Indies team that had lost 6 of their last 9 ODIs going into this series.
Not bad at all, Lance. Efficient, not flawless, but efficient. And indeed, to win with 14 overs to spare, basically, to dominate the match virtually from the moment that opening partnership was broken for the Bangladeshis, the bowling of Jayden Seals. I'm interested in the comparisons by Ricardo, Curtly Ambrose and Dale Steyn. Well, that's a really high standard. But yeah, it's encouraging to see the way he's gone about his game, Jayden Seals, after having a couple of years dogged by injuries. And then the chase, to see that they were able to really sustain the effort. The disappointment would be that, for example, Brandon King didn't carry on for 100, that Casey Carty didn't finish it off himself, that Evan Lewis missed a half-century. But those are relatively minor in the context of how well the West Indies played today.
Yeah, and before we analyse the entire performance of the West Indies team, a little time on Jayden Seals, because as you just mentioned, Ricardo at the top of the show had, mentioned his name with some pretty lofty names, as you have said, Curtly Ambrose and Dale Steyn. But he's really been doing well, not only with the red ball, but with the white ball as well. What is specifically, in your estimation, the reason for the upturn in his bowling? He had always shown a lot of promise, but what we've been seeing in recent months looks really, really outstanding.
I think what I'm sensing is a bit of impatience. He's a young man still, but remember, he burst onto the scene at the Under-19 World Cup in South Africa, then made his debut in Test matches against South Africa in St. Lucia on those spicy surfaces in 2021, and certainly looked the part. And then just a couple of months later, he got 5 wickets at Sabina Park in that match against Pakistan, and indeed played his part in the West Indies, winning by 1 wicket towards the end. But subsequently, he's really been dogged by injuries. And that's why you get the sense that he's really an impatient young man. But he's tempering that with doing the basics right. And you've got to give him credit for that. Whoever's around him was giving him the guidance, whether it's the West Indies coach, Andre Kohli, the bowling coach, and others playing their part, even his mentors back at home in Trinidad and Tobago or anywhere else, just allowing him to keep a level head and realize there's a long, long way to go. And you also sense that impatience boiling over into anger, which we saw during the course of that second Test match. Didn't look particularly good, and in the end, it just petered out with Bangladesh on the way to a comfortable victory. But you do get that sense when he harnesses all of that energy, all of that impatience, all of that desire to make his mark on the global stage. And I think this is important as well, Lance, Mariah, and Ricardo, that yes, it's all well and good to shine in the franchise formats. It's another thing entirely to make your mark playing for the West Indies, because he's a young man, but he knows, because Curtly Ambrose is right there as a television commentator, some of the giants of fast bowling in the world, not just the Caribbean, have come from this region, and that must be a source of inspiration.
Yeah, and as we're on the topic of bowling, another player, Faz, who I feel continues to improve would be Gudakesh Motie. Gudakesh in the previous matches, didn't pick up as much wickets or any wickets that had the commentators, of course, discussing him. Today he was interviewed, Faz picked up 2 wickets and was explaining the fact that previously when he did his work, and this is where he got my attention, because, some players, when they reach a certain level, they forget that, they're still learning and they have to go back to the drawing board when things don't go as planned. And Gudakesh Motie spoke about that. Previously he felt as if he was bowling too fast. He had to go back, work with his bowling coach and recognize, he had to monitor the pace, and again did that work, and today he reaped the rewards of that.
Yes, and it's important that these players understand that. I think Ian Bishop described him as the master of the middle overs for the West Indies when he had picked up one of his 2 wickets in the course of Bangladesh's capitulation. In the end, they recovered to 227 with Mahmudullah Riyad leading the way. But yes, we've seen that growth from Gudakesh Motie. The test match format, the different white ball formats, whether it's 50 overs, whether it's 20 overs, and recognizing, and I'm sure he would be liaising with so many of the players that he would come across, the Bangladeshi spinners, of course, Jadeja from India and their other assortment of slow bowlers, just to feed off them, get some ideas about pace, about accuracy, about flight, about guile, because it is a real art, especially in the shorter formats of the game, where the batters are coming at you and they sense they've got a better chance against a slow bowler, maybe than an out-and-out fast bowler who might be looking to intimidate. So he's responded well to that challenge, but it would be very encouraging to see him recognize, and you pointed out that reality, that he understands that you never stop learning, either in life, either in any other profession, or certainly in cricket, you never stop learning. And it's very important for him to maintain that upward trajectory.
Yeah, another bright spark for me would be the contributions that we got from different players with the bat. For quite some time, I remember being very, very disappointed, Faz, once we lost the openers, because I knew as a little girl that once we lost the openers, I was not going to get any more runs from any of the other batsmen. Today, and for the ODI before, the first ODI, I felt as if although the openers didn't fire in the first ODI, contributions came, and proper contributions from the rest of the batsmen. Today again, we saw the openers stepping up, Brandon King, brilliant, and of course getting the assistance from Evan Lewis. But that was not all. The rest of the players came out and they remembered how to bat, and that was so important for me.
Yes, indeed. And I would really like to see it, which is why I described it as not a flawless performance. I would like to see these batters be even greedier than what we're seeing right now. Greedy in the sense that they want to finish it off themselves. I thought Casey Carty, that 100 he got in the decisive one-day against England a few weeks ago, I thought that was his announcement of himself to the cricketing world. Yes, he had a good half-century in the losing qualifying tournament in Zimbabwe just over a year ago. But I thought that innings that he played showed just what he's capable of. And therefore, for someone like a Casey Carty, coming to the crease, the match is in the bag, you want to make sure you finish it off. You don't allow anyone else to get an opportunity. You don't allow anyone else to get a look in. You become greedy in that sense. Brandon King should have been thinking 100 and not just winning the match for the West Indies, because it would have happened anyway. And that's what you want to see, because there will be times when you're going well and you're dismissed and the West Indies are struggling, going up against a challenging total. It wasn't the case this time. But if you could develop that skill, that mental readiness to know that this is what is going to be done, almost automatically, it gives you a better chance of taking your team home against tough opposition.
Yeah, Faz, a couple of things I want you to comment on. I'll start with the batting aspect, because from my standpoint, I felt that the openers, both Evan Lewis and Brandon King, played more responsible knocks today as opposed to the first one-day international. Is that what you saw as well, even though Lewis fell short of his half-century and King fell short of his century?
Yeah, and it's always relative, Ricardo, because it could be a situation where early on you get an unplayable delivery, you're gone. Early on you look to hit over the top, you're caught at wide lawn, everyone is cursing you for the shot that you played. The next day it goes for 6. These are the way things happen. But you're right. You got that sense of a more measured approach. It would have been easier knowing the target was certainly not closer to 300 as it was in the first match and necessitated that century from Sherfane Rutherford. So it was a different setting. Beautiful batting conditions, Tuesday afternoon in St Kitts. Disappointingly, not many fans watching the action, but certainly it was set out in a way that would allow the opening pair and the batters to follow to really be a lot more measured, a lot more precise, and not really take too many risks and therefore take their team to victory. But your point is taken.
Yeah, and on the bowling now, and I guess Jayden Seales will come into this as well, because for a long time, Faz, I've had an issue with West Indies white ball teams not having genuine strike bowlers at the top, especially fast bowlers. Jayden Seales is showing, or certainly showed today, that when you have genuine strike bowlers, you can rip teams apart. And Bangladesh, 50-odd for 4 at one stage, and I thought that just changed the course of the game. So talk to us about the importance of having those genuine strike bowlers in all forms of the limited overs game, both the 50 over and the T20 formats.
You know, that's an interesting point you raise, Ricardo, because we often think that, you could get away with bits and pieces cricketers. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it depends on the conditions as well. But when you've got a genuine strike bowler, I mean, Bangladesh have theirs in Nahid Rana, and that Yorker to get the wicket of Brandon King was a delight to behold as well. This is the excitement that you get from genuine quick bowlers. And when you've got someone like a Jayden Seales who's on song with a point to prove, it really makes a difference. Certainly in Test cricket, we always talk about the phrase that bowlers win matches for you in Test matches. Batters will save them. Occasionally they might win 1 or 2. And the same thing with the white ball. If you've got really good quality attacking fast bowlers, but disciplined as well, it's pointless having all that pace and spraying it all over the place. But if you could find that combination of raw pace and thinking cricket, you've got a potent fast bowler in your lineup, and that almost always makes a difference. Even if the bowler doesn't get a lot of wickets, he makes the difference for the bowlers at the other end, because the batters are desperate to get away from the fast bowler to play somebody else.
Yeah, and Faz, I'll give you 2 names and you can comment 20 seconds each. 1, Markina Minley. 2, Alzari Joseph.
Work to do, a lot of work to do. Alzari, I think, should recognize that he is someone with so much experience. He really needs to step up his game. Markino Minley has had his opportunities, finally getting a chance in the one-day game. They really need to step up, because they at this point, certainly in the case of Minley, he lacks that extra spark that you require of a West Indies fast bowler. Alzari Joseph has it, but doesn't show it often enough.
Yeah, Faz, we're going to leave it there. Let's see if the West Indies can close out the series with a whitewash. We certainly hope they will. Thanks, Faz. Always great talking to you on the Zone.
Sure, no problem at all.
Yeah, and a lot more to come on the SportsMax Zone this afternoon, including an update from the UEFA Champions League and Real Madrid in action in a high-scoring fixture. Back in a moment.